So real briefly, Bluehost is one of hundreds, if not thousands, of web hosting services in the United States and around the world, in which you can create not just a WordPress website, but any kind of website. It just so happens that Bluehost works really well with WordPress, but I use it now. I am an affiliate, so if you sign up with me and you use Bluehost, I do get a commission. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. Let's just get going with how this works. So, two things I can do right off the bat. One is I can register a domain, which is not what I'm going to do today, but I can click this button over here and find out. Well, I'll just do it real quick. What the heck? Let's see if this will work today. And I can either register a domain or I can enter a domain. I can start that whole process this way. I don't need to, but I can. In fact, if you were starting an account, this is where you start, whether you have a domain or you want to start register for a domain. So you definitely would start here for the very first time. But once you do have an account with Bluehost, then you're going to log in. So you go over here to the upper right-hand corner, and now I'm already logged in. Otherwise, I would have gotten a prompt for my username and password to the Bluehost admin, which is what we're looking at right here. Bluehost calls this their C panel, the control panel. And through here, you have access to all the different services that Bluehost will give you. By the way, as I mentioned, I'm big with Bluehost, but there are lots of other services out there. I'm not going to name them all because they're no good. But when you log into their services too, they have a very similar kind of interface where you can get access for your email and email settings and websites and all kinds of things, security and domain name registration and management and all that kind of stuff. We're only going to focus in on one thing right here, installing WordPress. So I click on this, and if all goes well, we'll see this little monster disappear in a second or two. I'm not really crazy about this thing that gets in the way, but we'll have to tolerate it. And now, so one of the nice things about using Bluehost, what I like about it, is that this is one account, and I can have multiple domains associated with this one account. So I pay one fee. It's about $80, $90, $100 a year, something like that, to have my account. But I can have multiple domains with this account, and they don't charge you extra for the multiple domains. But you do have to pay a licensing fee for each domain. Well, that's fair. So a domain, if it's a .com domain, it might cost $12 a year, something like that. The longer term you license it for, the cheaper it gets. So I have a number of domains associated with this account. Anyway, I'm going to install. Now, before I do, I want to show you. I'm going to install into one of my domains, myfreesb.com. Since I have multiple domains, I can click on over here to see what the other domains are. But I want to just install into there. Currently, myfreesb.com, the SB stands for sandbox, myfreesb.com, well, there's nothing there, okay? It's just the Bluehost generic default page. We're going to change all that. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to get started. And you'll see it's just a couple of clicks. So we have to wait for things to set up, okay? I do want to look at the more advanced options, so I'm going to click over here. And all the advanced options are doing is just asking me what do I want for username and password. And here's what I recommend. Now, the site title, you can change this later on. This is no big deal. The username, I suggest you could use anything. Typically, people use their email addresses. Don't use the word admin. That's really bad. And then a password, I'm going to use my password that I use all the time. Okay, and I'm just going to put that in there. Now, yeah, you can later on, once the site is installed, once WordPress is installed, you can definitely change the password, but you cannot change the username, so just be aware of that. And here, this is really important here too. You have your email address, because if ever you lose your password, This is the way that you're going to retrieve your password. That is, it'll be sent to you by email to reset your password. You just can't call up Mr. WordPress and say, can you give me a new password? It doesn't work that way. So be careful with this kind of thing. It's not too difficult. And I'm going to say that I've read over everything and I'm ready to install. So I basically have just changed one thing, which was the password. And when I click install, I'm just going to scroll down here a little bit. And you'll see that it's installing. And we'll wait a second or two. And what exactly is being installed? Of course, WordPress, the software itself, is being installed into the myfreesb.com domain. Think of the domain as just a folder, which is exactly what it is. And it's doing all this stuff automatically for me, so I don't have to do it manually, all right, which I don't even want to get into what all that entails. And hopefully it will get done someday. It will. It just takes a minute or two. So again, you could have multiple domains in one account, and each one of those domains can have WordPress installed in there, which is nice. You can even have folders in your domain that have its own version of WordPress installed. So it's just great to have an account where you can do all kinds of things with. And I do favor Bluehost because the technical support is fantastic. Once I have an account, if I need support, they even give you support about things that they shouldn't even be giving sometimes, but they just do. Hopefully, we won't have a problem here, John. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, here we go. All right, because we once did. So this time, no problems. Okay. So I have really important information right over here, which I'm highlighting. One is the URL for the site. One is the login and my username and my password. So I can click on any of these to take me there, but I'm going to do it this way. I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to refresh this, and you're going to see that this is what I've installed. This is WordPress out of the box installed today. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on all this. In fact, as I was talking a little earlier, starting February 10th, I'm doing a 4-part WordPress webinar series called WordPress A to Z that starts at 7 o'clock on those 4 Monday nights, where I'm going to go over all of what WordPress is and does and how it works and blogging and site making and just a whole lot of things. In fact, I will be sending you links to that. I will be sending you a link to that information if you're interested in taking the WordPress A to Z series. I will say that if you sign up and register between now and the end of this month, you get a nice big discount just because you're smart. So, like I said, I'm not going to go into all of this, but this is WordPress out of the box today. This is a brand new theme that they are now using called 2014. Yes, you can use other themes, and yes, you can customize this theme, but I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail because that's what I'm going to be doing in the WordPress A to Z series. I did say that I would be going over some of the new features for this version of WordPress. So I am going to do that. And it'll give you a little tour, too, of what WordPress is in case you're not familiar. So I'm going to log in over here. And here's where I'm going to use my username and password that I set up a little bit ago with Bluehost. Now, I don't know if this is the correct username and password. So I know the username is correct. I'm going to retype in my password. And let's just see what happens. And with any bit of luck, there we go. I've logged into the dashboard. So if you're new to WordPress, it won't really matter that there's been a lot of changes. If you're old to WordPress or you have some experience, you will notice some very dramatic changes with this version. And by version, I mean WordPress gets updated on a fairly regular basis. The current version is what they call 3.8. So there have been a whole lot of versions over the last 10 years. But what you're seeing here represents 10 years of user learned experience on how to make a good admin. So WordPress is a content management system, and you're looking at the sort of the back end of it on how to design, or more specifically, really how to develop and maintain and manage a WordPress website. You do it from the back end, starting at the dashboard. And during the webinar series, I'm going to go through all this in real detail, how to make pages and posts. But just to take note, all of this has been redesigned here. Notice how clear and sharp all this is. This is because they've just done a really fantastic job. They are now using, believe it or not, to make these really clear icons, they're using specially designed fonts to get those clear, crystal clear images. They're not images, they're actual fonts. So I thought that's really interesting. Now, I do want to point out that along with this new version, they came up with this whole idea of different skins. So I'll show you how customizable things can be. I'm just going to go over here to all users. I'm the user so far. And you'll see that there's different schemes now. For example, if I want a different color over there, you can see on the left-hand side how it changed. So I can change the admin to suit different needs if I want. But I'm just going to leave it the way they have it out of the box, and that's fine with me. And now I'm going to go back to the beginning, the dashboard. Now I have to tell you that because this is a relatively new interface, I don't know everything about it yet. I've still learned a few things, but it's not so overwhelmingly different than what we had before with version 3.7. But it is a substantial change, more than they usually make from the previous version to the newest version. And I was really floored by to see all the different changes. Another thing that they have changed, and I'll take you over here real quick, is the fact that if you're familiar with this, you'll know that they've changed this. If not, it's no big deal. This will be new to you. This is where the themes are stored. So in any situation, you only have one theme, okay, going at one time. This is what's called the active theme. These are sort of like themes that are stored but not active. And by active, I mean that's what you see on the when I go to the site. Okay, this is the active theme. So even though it doesn't look exactly what you're seeing over here, the new theme, which is called 2014, which shipped with this version of WordPress, features a magazine-style layout. You can use grids, and sliders, lots of content and images. These themes over here were previous themes, 2013, 2012, and each one, well, I guess gets better and better. The hallmark of this theme plus the new interface, if I go back to here for a second, you will see one of the things they did, which is fantastic, is they made all of this scalable. So it's now responsive. And just by sliding this over, you can see it will sort of emulate what a cell phone would look like. Let's get this out of the way. We don't need this. And you can see that this sort of looks like a cell phone. So if you were working on a cell phone or an iPad, I know somebody, Edith, I think, said she's working with an iPad. If you just put your finger on this little button over here, here comes the drop-down menu. And I assume you can get to some of this stuff. It probably works a little better on a cell phone. But anyway, so that's one of the things they did with the newly designed WordPress. Now, I want to go back real quick and talk about the themes, because that's another thing that was changed. So if I go to themes, so again, this is the current theme. If I just click on this, this gives me a little description of what the theme is all about. Plus, it gives me access to all the main components of the theme. That is, I can customize the widget area, the menus. Again, there's no way I'm going to do all this today. But if you're interested in learning WordPress and going if you are, you would need to know how all these things work, and that's definitely things I'm going to be doing in the WordPress A to Z webinar series. I could also toggle through these other themes if I wanted to make this an active theme. I could just click on make this active, and away I'd go. The nice thing about WordPress is you are not stuck with these three themes, although they're great. These are great themes in and of themselves. But you can also choose right over here a new theme, or you can just go over here and you can choose any theme. You could type in the word if you know the name of the theme. And many themes are free, but there's also a group of themes called premium themes that you can pay for that range about $30 to $80. And they're more advanced that in the free themes. That is, they let you have there are more options to customize with a premium theme than a free theme. Personally, I happen to like a lot of the free themes. And for beginners, I always tell them stick with the free themes because You may like premium themes, but it adds a layer of complexity that beginners really don't need when they're starting out. So just keep that in mind. The other thing to point out that was new was I don't know if I want to. I think that's really about it as far as, I mean, there are other things that are smaller things, but it doesn't really make any sense to go into them, especially if you don't yet know all about WordPress. But I should say this too. Once you start working with WordPress, you're going to see that, let me go back to the dashboard for a second. You would see one of the things that you would see is that they update it from time to time. And it's always a good idea to update your version of WordPress. So like say in 4 or 5 months, you would see a little sign up over here. There'll be a little link that says time to update your WordPress to 3.9 or 4.0, which will be a big update. I know that's going to be a big one. And I highly recommend that you do, because one of the things that you don't usually know about in the updates is that they also put in more security patches and make it harder for people to hack your site, which you want to be very careful about. These sites can be hacked, and I always emphasize in all my training how to protect yourself from hackers. You can't make them go away. All right, that's not possible, but you can certainly practice what I call safe WordPress to make it harder for hackers to destroy your site or to compromise your site, and make it easier for you to restore your site if the worst should happen. So that's really it. You saw how I installed. I gave you a little tour of the new version of WordPress. Does anybody have any questions? I told you it would be quick. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a technical question.
Okay.
It doesn't really pertain to what you discussed, but it's a segment on there on the media. Now
Okay.
I've done I've uploaded photos to the media portion of this,
Right.
and that's great when you want to put it into your posts and things like that. But when somebody else uploads photos to the media center, how
Right.
can I download them back to my computer? I haven't
Well,
figured
it's
that one out yet.
yeah, that's really pretty easy.
Okay.
You, you mean through the media center?
Yeah. Hmm.
Let me see if I can show you a live example of this right now. This is my website right now. In fact, here's the WordPress A to Z webinar series. But like I said, I'm going to send you a link and you'll get some information on all this. And I've recorded this webinar, so you'll also get a chance to replay it if you need to do that. But I'm going to log into my site. And one of the things you'll see, this is the older version of WordPress. Look, it says, update to 3.8. And so you can see, whoa, this doesn't look quite as nice. The interface isn't quite as sharp. Well, that's one of the things they did, is they dramatically improved it. But I will show you in a media library. Now, here are all my images that I've stored in the library. And if I want to take an image out, what I could do is just click on this. And I should be able just to drag and drop this right onto my desktop. And you'll
Oh,
see
really?
it.
It's that simple.
Yeah, you said it was a technical question. That's the technical question. That's the answer.
Wow.
Okay. And that
Here I'm
will
looking for
yeah.
different clicks and everything to make it
Now,
work. And
and that'll work no matter what browser you're using. Safari,
okay.
Chrome, anything, it's going to work. So good question. Anybody else have a question? Okay. All right. Then what I'm going to do is uh, I will let you know. Either I will post it to the Graphic Artists Guild or send you a personal message where you can get a copy of this webinar, but also where you can get information about the WordPress A to Z webinar series. And also, if you're interested in signing up with Bluehost, as I mentioned, it would be nice if you signed up through me. I'll put a link on the page that I'm going to send you to. So I do get some credit for it, so nothing wrong with that. And if you do sign up with them, I know you'd be really happy, because I have lots of students and clients who've signed up with them, and I have never heard a complaint. I only hear good stuff. So that's the reason why I
Well,
recommend it. Sure.
one other quick question,
All
Bud.
right. Sure.
When you do the, I have a website that I designed through Dreamweaver
Right.
many years ago.
Right.
It's far from being up to today's standards.
Right.
But when you do WordPress through
Right.
Bluehost, there is nothing really on your computer at home, is there?
That's correct. That's a very good point that you're making, which is WordPress exists in the cloud. When I installed it, I didn't install it on my desktop. I installed it on a server that Bluehost controls.
Right.
So all of this is cloud-based, which is what everything is these days, which means you can access this wherever you go, not just your website, but the admin to control your website. So work, play, vacation, whatever, take it with you, cell phone, it doesn't matter. You can always access the dashboard, the admin of your WordPress site, and make changes, which is fantastic. Of
Yeah.
course, that does bring into account that there are other issues associated with it, such as backing it up, such as all kinds of things that are attended to the fact that this is going to be in the cloud and not on your computer. Okay, that's a really good point. Anybody else? Are we good?
I have a
We're-
quick question.
Go right ahead. Take your
Could
time.
you explain the difference between like a site and a blog?
Yes. Let me give you a really good example of it. I'm going to use my website because I set it up this way so I could answer that question. A website like this is really two components, and this is very typical of many websites today. It's both a regular website and a blog. And that speaks to the fact that all WordPress is set up to have two different kinds of content. One is regular website content and blog content. What's the difference? Regular website content, we call that pages or static pages. And static pages are things that you want your users to see all the time. So they come to my website and they can click on this and they can learn about CSS or they can take a WordPress or whatever. These are what are called static pages. A blog, which is what I'm going to click on over here, is really time-sensitive, time-based information that consists of articles or posts. Same thing, articles and posts are the same thing. And what happens is over time, the information that you post will disappear from this list. Okay, I can make this list longer. Okay, but it'll be available through various tools like search and like categorizing and recent posts and all kinds of things. What you're looking at over here that I'm highlighting it are things called widgets. And I do talk a lot about that I go over that in the A to Z webinar series. But the point is, posts are time-sensitive information. Time-sensitive information generally is information that's going to go in your blog.
Okay.
Like you see over here. Now, in WordPress, do you have to have a blog? No. Do you have to have pages? No. You can do anything you want. You can have a site like mine, which is a combination of pages and posts, or you can do just pages or just posts. It's very flexible. All right. There is no, it has to be this way. No. WordPress is very flexible. In fact, I always tell my students, they always ask me, can you do whatever? They'll ask with WordPress. And I'll say, that's not the question you want to know. The question is, how do I do? So, because there is no such thing you cannot do. All right. But I'll have to say, depending on the nature of the question, the answer will be based on, my answer will be based on how, the technology, how things work. Do you need to know source code? Do you need to know, do you not need to know source code? Those are, things that I'm not going to talk about now, but there's an awful lot you can do without having to know HTML and CSS. Would it help to know those things? Well, absolutely. If you're thinking of designing, you definitely need to know that. There's no getting around that. Okay? I hope that helped.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Good question. I have two more quick ones.
All right.
In regards to your A to Z course in February.
Yes.
How long will each session be?
Okay. I'm going to flip back to wherever it was over here. Each one is going to be about an hour. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit over here. By the way, there'll be a link to this page too, so you can get a little. I'll give you a little teaser of what it's going to be. But there are 4 different ones. There's the overview, which is number 1. Number 2 is building out your site, a little more detail, adding much more detail to the site. 3 is blogging heaven, or all about blogging, and 4th is about plugins. Now you can take all 4 of them, or you can take any combination that you want. So they start on the Mondays in February and 7 o'clock, and they'll go to about 8 o'clock, maybe 8:15 or so. I'm not going to be in any hurry if somebody says they want to stick around. And during the time that I'm doing this. Once you're registered, I will answer any question. I will give you one phone call that you can call me and talk as much as you want and ask us any questions that you want about your website. So it's like a free phone conversation or consultation without having to pay anything extra. Here are the prices. You can see over here the fee for the series. Right now, you get a discount, and you get between now and the end of the month, you get a discount. And if you just want to take one, you can do that too. And if you also want to just take one and sample it and see, okay, he's really good, I want to take the rest of them, just let me know, and that'd be all right too. Okay, anything else?
And if we sign up for whatever we sign up for, is there a way to get a recorded copy of that? Because I don't learn first time around.
All recorded, absolutely.
Okay.
So you get it recorded. Now I will not give out recordings for people who don't pay, all right? Because then what's the sense?
Right.
But if you attend the webinar, you definitely get a recording, and you get that free consultation if you need that. And I don't know what else you could get. I think it's a pretty good deal.
And I don't see PayPal listed there. You don't accept PayPal?
Oh, it is right here. This is PayPal. Do you see it?
Oh, geez, I'm sorry, right in front of me. Okay. I'm looking for the PayPal word.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, bud.
Yeah. Now, to all of you who are here, if you just want to take one, make sure you send me an email that says, I'm interested in doing which one it is, one of the four. Okay. So, that's the story. Okay. Everybody good?
That sounds great. Thank you, bud.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Edith.